Still rocking after all these years.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
This is it, the show that started it all. Often imitated, but never equal. From San Francisco, USA. Online since 2004. It's the one and only Rock and Roll Geek Show. With the original rock and roll geek, Michael Butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. What you're hearing in the background is a band, a great band, actually, called Screams. This band was around in the late 70s. I saw them open for Van Halen on the very first Van Halen headlining tour, 1979. What turned me on to this, or what reminded me about this band, is when Paul Underwood, friend of the show, came over and did a home invasion where you donate a certain amount of money and you can come to my house and have dinner. I'll make you dinner and have some beers and you can come do a show down in my little basement studio. Well, Paul Underwood came over and tried to stump me with a CD by a band called Screams, and I said, "You can't stump me, Paul, on this one, because I saw this band open for Van Halen on the very first headlining tour." That is what you're hearing now. The reason I'm playing it is because when Paul and I did that home invasion show, I started looking up information about the band Screams, and the more I looked into it, I found out the drummer is a Facebook friend and also plays drums for a band called The Romantics, which is a fantastic band. I saw Brad Elvis playing with The Romantics when they opened for Rick Springfield last year. So I looked up Brad Elvis and asked him if he would like to come on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. And that's what I have for you tonight, friends. An interview with probably the greatest drummer that you have never seen. If you're if you're in the know about Brad Elvis, I don't need to convince you, but this guy, look him up on YouTube. The guy is a fantastic drummer. Should be a lot more famous than he is, but I saw him back in 1979 with Screams, and I have him on the... Hold on, let me listen to this a little bit. Listen to that. This album, Screams, top to bottom, great album. Look for it. You might find it on the cutout bins, but it's a rare album. It's really good. Top to bottom, this album is great. Well, I hope you enjoy the Brad Elvis interview. I'm going to play it right after this song. Thank you for listening, friends. And thank you to everybody who donated to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. Please keep the donations coming. Without your donations, this show would die a horrible, putrid, stents-filled death. And if you're on YouTube or on iTunes looking at podcasts, go ahead and give me a review if you want. If the show sucks, get on there and say the show sucked. If it's great, say it's great. I never ask for reviews, but this time I'm asking, friends. Enjoy the interview with Brad Elvis. I'll come back and say some parting words after it's over, and I will talk to you very soon, friends. Brad Elvis, thanks so much for coming on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
I went to see Rick Springfield, I think it was last year or the year before, at a winery place in Saratoga, California, or somewhere around there. And the Romantics were opening the show. And I I was there to see Rick Springfield, but I liked the Romantics, and I was looking forward to seeing the drummer for the Romantics, Jimmy Marino's. I liked that guy a lot. The guy was a major powerhouse drummer, and Romantics came on stage, and I said, "Wait a minute, that's not Jimmy." I wasn't positive Jimmy Marino was going to be playing. I thought it was either going to be him or Clem Burke, which I was fine with Clem Burke as well, but I was a fan of Jimmy Marino because he's a powerhouse drummer. And I looked on, and so they came on stage. And I said, "Oh man, that's not Jimmy Marino's or Clem Burke. Who is that?" And after like halfway through the first song, not even halfway through, like just a couple of notes, I thought, "Wow, that drummer is great." And so I ended up watching the drummer the entire time. You were the
Who was it?
It was a guy. The guy said, "Brad Elvis on drums." Wally Stockard said, "Was it Wally Stockard?" No, what's the singer for Romantics name?
That's Wally. Yeah, Wally Palmer.
Wally Palmer. Drummer for the Romantics, Brad Elvis, and you were great. And I was a Brad Elvis fan after that. I said, "Man, that guy is good. That guy's a fucking great drummer." And the other day, a listener of the show, came on my show and brought me a CD that was going to try to stump me. I'm going to play you a band from the '70s that I guarantee you've never heard. And he brought this record by a band called Screams. And I said, "Well, you didn't stump me because I saw Screams in the summer of 1979 open for Van Halen on Van Halen's first headlining tour at the Jacksonville Civic Auditorium."
Oh, okay.
And so I went and we were listening to some Screams, and I forgot how great of an album that was. Man, this band was good. So I started researching. I'll let you talk in a second, Brad. I apologize, but
I like hearing it. Keep going. I don't know any of this. No, I'm just kidding.
So we played a couple of songs, and I said, "Man, this band is good. They remind me so much of I forgot how good this band was. They remind me a lot of Cheap Trick." And anyway, I remembered almost like it was yesterday, that show opening for Van Halen. And I went and looked I researched looking for Screams, and it said drummer, Brad, is it Steakley? Brad Steakley, also known as Brad Elvis. And I said, "Where do I know that name Brad Elvis from?" "Oh yeah, that's the guy from the Romantics." So then I looked you up and found you on Facebook, and I said, "Would you please come on the show because I'm a huge fan and I didn't even know it." So thank you for coming on Rock and Roll Geek Show, Brad Elvis.
Oh well, thanks. And you go back quite a ways with my drumming. It sounds like.
Do you remember a lot about Screams?
Yeah, it was basically I started the band I remember everything about them, really. And, Jacksonville, that was we started in Florida with the Van Halen tour, so it was probably one of the first, I think we played like maybe four shows down in Florida, and then we moved on to wherever, Texas, and we were out with them for July through October. So you saw us, that was sometime early July. I think the first one was, like on July 5th or something like that.
I don't remember the exact date. I was 17 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it was probably, the 6th or the 7th or the 8th or the 9th of July, 79, something like that.
At the Jacksonville Civic Auditorium.
Nice.
I remember we rode our bicycles up. Van Halen was doing a radio interview promoting the show.
Mm-hmm.
We rode our bicycles up to the radio station, and the guys were inside, and we're looking inside their limo, and there were like Schlitz malt liquor cans all over the car. We're 17-year-old kids. We're rock and roll star. Anyway, the opening band was Screams, and I remember loving the opening band Screams a lot. You guys were real rockin' band and had great tunes. Have you listened to that Screams album in the past several years?
Maybe bits and pieces.
You know that album is a great album from top to bottom. It is a good album. Every song on that album is catchy as hell.
Oh, thanks. It's a whole fate thing. We were a really good band. We really were, and we we did pretty well. It was a brand new label on MCA, like a subsidiary, like CBS, like, Cheap Trick were on Epic, but that was on CBS. And later on, the Elvis Brothers, we were on CBS, but it was Portrait, so there's all these little subsidiaries. So Infinity MCA was this brand new label, and they only had like 5 or 6 people on the label, and they really wanted to concentrate on just rather than getting 30 bands on one label. And so anyway, we did the Van Halen tour. We did well, and then we went to England on our own, and we're headlining over there and some nice venues and things. And while we were over there, this is like in November. You saw us in July. We went from July to October with Van Halen. So in November we're over there, and about 2 weeks into our tour, which was going great and getting good reviews, they go, "Oh, Infinity is no more. MCA just dropped Infinity, the whole label." So it was one of those kind of deals. And we were getting ready to do our second album. They said, "Yeah, you guys did good enough that you get to do a second album." And, so who knows? It would have been a whole different life story, fate, which direction, who knows and what would have happened. But from there, went on about a year or so later, we formed the Elvis Brothers through 2 other people, friends of mine, and we started the Elvis Brothers, and that took off, and then we got signed with that, and just on and on. So Screams was a good band, and gosh, you never know if we would have had the chance, but they pulled the rug out from underneath of us. So
how old were you when was Screams the first band that actually did anything that you were in?
Yeah, I mean, my being an older gent, my first gig ever was when I was, a youngster in high school, early high school, and that was in 1970. So, it might even been junior high, 1970. And then in 1978, I got a record deal, So I was around for a while and had my own bands and played in the garage and played high school dances and things that they did back in those days, and played a million clubs all over the Midwest, and just worked our way up, and then formed Screams, and it just kept building and building. So in the big scheme of it all, it wasn't really that long when you think about it, from beginning to getting a record deal. So
how old were you when Screams formed?
I was we had this other band. It was just playing and around, and it's like, we got to do something. We got to update our crap and do this and that, and just update, get new songs, new format. We got to do something. Get out of here. And so that was in the fall of 1976. So I was, how old was I? 21. I was going to be 22 at the time. So.
What were you guys listening? Did you guys form Screams? Did you have a certain we're gonna sound like this or we're gonna sound like that?
Kinda, a little bit. We had done the early. This is 76. I'd been playing a long time, so we were doing a lot of the early. Not then, but 3-4 years before we were doing. We were never like a. Well, where are you located at?
I'm in San Francisco. I'm in San Francisco now. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I live in San Francisco now.
Well, they probably had a scene in Florida that way, but not a lot of places. But Midwest was known for, when you had bands, you could play for a living, but you had to play, 4 sets a night, 4 45-minute sets, or sometimes even longer. And so we did a ton of covers. Yeah, we did a ton of covers, and we'd throw in some originals. A lot of bands didn't do that. They just stuck with the covers. Yeah. They stayed safe. Right. And they played top 40 hits and the hits of the day and all that. But I always was in bands, and we formed bands. We just played what we wanted to, We were like, we're not going to play all that stuff. All the other bands play whatever was popular, just play what we like. So we were always playing, Beatles and Kinks and The Who and all that kind of stuff, and stuff that we liked. And then that graduated into the early scene of like New York Dolls and the Ramones early on, and Patti Smith, and we were doing Roxy Music and Sparks and all the weird bands, and so that's where we were coming from. But we also had to survive, so we did some songs that were kind of known. We do You Really Got Me or whatever. Everybody knew that song, right. That sort of stuff. So, but anyway, long story short, we were like, we got to change our life. We got to get out of this glam thing. That's kind of dead. That's over with. All these other bands are starting to do all that stuff now, and we're done with it. And I always kept up on the new stuff through the English mags and papers like Melody Maker and Sounds and all that kind of stuff, and saw the punk thing happening, and wow, there's these cool bands, and we were listening to the Ramones and Stooges and all that sort of stuff. And so we wanted to kind of we see this thing coming, Sex Pistols. We're hearing about this band called the Sex Pistols. They didn't have records out yet. We're hearing about them and the Clash and all that stuff. So hey, this thing's happening, but also the other big influence was in the club scene in Illinois, starting in '74 when I first saw them, was Cheap Trick.
Right, yeah. And
they were playing clubs, so we would go see them, and they were great. I saw them even with their original singer and all that stuff. And as they went along, pretty soon, by 1976, they're doing 3 sets a night. By then, Rick's figured out his look, and Bunny's figured out his look, and they're playing 3 sets of originals, pretty much like their first 3 albums in the clubs. They're going, oh my God, they're playing Surrender and I Want You to Want Me, and they're playing Tax Man and every song you can imagine in the club. And you're sitting there going, wow, these guys got it together, and these songs are great, and they got a look, and they got an image, so that was a big influence on us also, because you had mentioned, Screams sound like Cheap Trick, But if you listen to our album, it does have the Cheap Trick thing that if you listen to also, it's like, I hear some Bowie stuff, I hear Eno, I hear The Who, there's all kinds of stuff in the Screams influence. But we were probably one of the first bands to actually have an album out that were directly influenced by Cheap Trick. When you think about it,
Cheap Trick got signed before Screams, right?
Oh yeah. They were signed. They got signed like summer or fall of '76. I remember it well. In fact, I saw them one night, and they had their record label people were there up in Rockford. I remember them being there. Oh, look, record people. Place was packed. The whole scene. And then they went and recorded their album, and it came out, I think, like in January of '77 or something. Their first album, somewhere in there.
So when Cheap Trick got signed, were
we were signed '78, so late '78.
So were record labels coming around the Midwest looking for more bands? And how'd you guys get a record deal?
Well, Screams, we started getting a buzz, and we were doing as many originals as we could. It was like, hey, well, Cheap Trick were playing all originals, but they got to be good, And so we had a bunch of originals, and we were playing cool, weird covers, and Cheap Trick did that for a long time, too. They were doing covers of obscure, weird things, and we were all inspired by all of that. And so we were getting a buzz, and we had a manager who was booking us, and we were all working together. Really, our goal, let's get a record deal. Let's be good. Let's be a pro band and get out there. And we made demos and all that sort of stuff. And one thing just led to another, and a label, MCA, this new label, was interested, and they kept sending A&R guys out to see us. You guys are great. You guys are awesome. But we got to get the president of the company, Ron Luxembourg. We got to get him to come out and see you. And then it's like, he's going to come to the next thing. And so the next thing would be, Ron couldn't make it, but they're sending this other A&R guy out. And he would come out, and it's like, you guys are great. We got to get Ron to see you. After about 3 or 4 times, like, get Ron out here. So finally, they were like, he's so busy. He's got the new label, and they were based out of New York, and said, you guys are gonna. He's busy on Thursday. I mean, he's open on Thursday, and then we're like, okay. So our manager called some club, and we flew in the night before, and we played the next night for the label at this club. There was like hardly anybody in it because we were just forced so we could play in front of him. So he and another A&R type person were just sitting at a table right in front of us, and we were just blasting them out, with our wall of amplifiers and stuff, and did a set in front of him. And hey, come by the office tomorrow. And so we did, and we got signed. That's how we got signed. It was crazy.
Was it weird playing a club in front of nobody and having to jump around and put on as good of a show as you can with nobody there and nobody even knew who you were?
Well, we were used to that. Because, once again, we knew what we wanted to do, and we knew we were good, and, we were confident, and we had a look, and we had a good show, and we really worked at everything and our originals and stuff, and, so we were playing around the Midwest, and we're still playing these clubs. We're like, no one's dancing to you guys, and you guys, you got to play more top 40 stuff. We're like, screw that, So, a lot of times we played to nobody. So, we were just played for ourselves. We didn't let the crowd dictate. We were like, yeah, man, let's just do it. We're just into it. And we could play in front of 10 people or, 10,000 people.
And then you come back home and you got a record deal.
Yeah, we come back. We got a record deal, and did some opening dates for some bands to get stuff, and all of a sudden this Van Halen thing came up, and which was a big deal at the time, and here we are, 22, 23 years old, and just going, yeah, I guess, yeah, this is what happens, this is what you do, you go on tour and play in front of a bunch of people and on a tour bus, and so it was the end of the 70s, so I was lucky to experience that. Because it all changed by the end of the year. By the end of 1979, like I said, they dropped the label and all the big record labels. It was a big thing. It was in the news. It was like in Rolling Stone and everything. Record labels cleaning house. The end of 1970. It's going to be 1980. We can't be doing this Fleetwood Mac. Everybody's got a limo. Tour support. They're buying drugs for bands. The record label it was just nuts. And we got to stop. We got to stop doing it. And so all these labels kind of woke up. And we got to experience a little bit of getting some of that record label money and stuff. But by the end of '79, it was like,
yeah, and
we're dropping this.
Well, bands like
we don't need this label. Go ahead.
The bands like the Knack started coming in, and if you think about it, you guys would have fit right in with the style of music the Knack was playing, because that Screams album is pretty much a power pop record, and it kind of is a little bit. You could compare it to the Knack even, so they could have kept. Yeah, they could have kept you guys.
I remember.
Fit right in.
I remember we came back from one of the legs of the Van Halen tour for a few days, and I remember my wife. At the time, and we're still best friends. Thank you very much. We're still really good friends. But she was like, "Hey, there's this band. Have you heard this band, The Knack? Everybody's talking about this band." And she had bought the album. Let's check it out. So that was kind of right not long before we had the rug pulled out from underneath of us. So, I have a funny story about The Knack. Doug Feiger, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Feiger, I think it is. He was. He lived in Detroit for quite a while. You think of him as a West Coast guy, but he was in Detroit. And, me, I've been playing with the Romantics now for close to going on 14 years. But I've overheard them telling stories a number of times saying, oh, that was the night Doug Feiger, he used to come see us, he came into the club. Remember the night he came in and he was like, the first night he saw the Romantics playing, they weren't signed either yet. And he said that Doug Feiger, after a set, they were like, this is awesome. This is so great. Oh, man, it's almost like seeing Beatles or something. You guys got matching outfits, and you're doing all these songs. And, oh, this is so cool, man. This is so great. It's so rock and roll. I love it. and then he split, went to the West Coast, and formed the Knack.
Right.
So that was he was inspired by the Romantics, and then for whatever reason, I think the Knack got signed before the Romantics. So the record, it was pretty close, but I think the Romantics' first album came out January of '80, I think. So, and I think the Knacks came out like in summer of '79, maybe, something like that.
You remember the Knacks drummer?
Fall. I do. I can't think of his name, but yeah.
That guy was a great drummer too.
Yeah, he was a big session drummer guy. I think he had even played with like Jack Bruce and people like that. You know, he was like a well qualified drummer.
So how did you get? All right. So I'm sorry if you're bored talking about the history of your music career, but
no, I love it. That's all I got. That's all I know.
Do you remember much about the Van Halen tour? Were they nice guys?
Yeah, they were. They were nice. Yeah, they're kind of in their own little world, but we weren't anything really like Van Halen, but at the same time, we rocked. We were heavy. We could be heavy and rock. We knew what we were doing, and we were kind of more Who-like than Beatle-like or pop-like, you know. So we could really do the Who thing and really rock it, and so I think that saved us. They were like, "Hey, well, these guys are cool," and and they got the show and they jump around. They all got their thing going on, and they would come to the side stage and watch us the first, off and on throughout the tour, but especially the first couple shows. I think they were checking us out, see if we were any good and if we were gonna stay on the tour or not. So, and they kind of stayed to themselves, and we talked to them. We were always running around and gabby and talking to the crew members and stuff. In fact, I remember one time, a couple weeks into the tour, one of the crew guys goes, "Hey, you guys are all right. Hey, the band likes you guys." And I go, "Oh, cool, thank you. You guys are cool, yeah." Yeah, the other bands we've had, they were too cool, man. They had to go hang out in the dressing room and wouldn't talk to anybody. You guys are cool. You guys talk to us and stuff. And so there's a lesson rather than hiding from the other bands. We were being social and talking to people and not be too cool for school and hiding out. So.
Well, did the Van Halen guys talk to you guys?
Yeah, a little bit here and there. They were actually. We didn't see a lot of them, except on stage, because we would go on and play, and they would show up while we're playing, and oh look, they're over there watching us, and then we would get off stage, and then of course they would take off to their dressing rooms and do what they had to do because they were getting ready to go on, and we didn't go, "Hey, you guys, what's going on?" We didn't bug them. We kind of tiptoeing around them a little bit because we wanted to be courteous and
you didn't want
try to stay on the tour.
Exactly.
Yeah, we didn't want to be pests. Right. And but they were like, "Hey," we'd see them. They're like, "Hey, good show." We go, "Oh, thanks," But we would run into them once in a while. Or I remember there was a party or two, at the hotel rooms, and we'd end up being there. I remember sitting on the floor one time somewhere, maybe in Canada or somewhere, and there was a party in one of the hotel rooms, and someone had a small, portable record player, but the only record they had was the Beatles 6 album, Beatles 6, the American release, and Eddie and I were just kind of sitting on the floor, our backs to the wall, and just sitting on the floor gabbing and talking about stuff, and so that was kind of fun, and they were just kind of normal guys at the time, and before they got too crazy. And I always tell people, I said, I think that was the best tour and the best they ever played, because that was their first headlining tour, and they didn't want to screw up, and they had to be really good, and they didn't want to go back to being the opening band, and so they were headlining, and the shows were sold out, and they were sucking up to all the promoters, and they were doing great, playing really hard, and I never really noticed any of big partying, going on stage, being stupid or anything. They went on and played great, and they did a good show, and all of them, And then I saw the next tour. They came through Champaign on the Women and Children First tour, the third album.
The tour that you
And,
guys did with them, that was actually a theater tour. They had played. They had been playing arenas with Black Sabbath, and then they went on this. The theater tour was the headlining tour. So right after that, they went back to arenas. They were headlining arenas.
Yeah, I think all the halls were. I think they tried to get 5,000, played to 5,000 people at least in every city they played. In fact, sometimes we play a theater and it'd be like 2,000 people, 2,500, and we would play there 2 nights. A lot of it. We did that in Cleveland. I think maybe Houston, Minneapolis. So it was kind of weird. So I think they had like, we want to play in front of this every city. And then you're right. And then that album, the second album, that really did it well for them in that tour. And then their third album, Women and Children First, they were playing much even bigger places. But anyway, we went out and saw them in Champaign. Champaign, Illinois. We got invited to the show, and already they were like, hey, there's Eddie walking around with a whiskey bottle in his hand, and the show, and David Lee Roth, look at all the people here. Right, he was gabbing more than singing, and it was the craziness already was starting. Okay, we made it. We're cool. It was like the Aerosmith story, you know.
Yeah.
They, after their second album, that kind of did it for them, and by the third album, Toys in the Attic, Walk This Way, and all that stuff, they were like, woo, we made it. Do a bunch of drugs and go crazy. And, so anyway, that was a good tour you saw.
I remember I almost remember where I was sitting at that show. I was probably in like the 17th row. And I remember that your singer did this cool thing with I was a 17-year-old kid, so, but everybody was a rock. If you were on stage, you were a huge rock star as far as I was. You were a superhero. But I remember the singer would do this thing with his microphone stand. He would like kick it over and do something that would like pop back up.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I remember that I was a kid.
Yeah,
that's like one thing that was in my mind.
He'd kick it up with his foot and catch it and all that stuff. And and he would swing his microphone like Roger Daltrey, and he would swing his mic stand around like Rod Stewart. We had all the stuff down. All of our heroes. I was all Keith Booned out, and the guitar player was always jumping up in there and going crazy. And
being a kid, all that stuff was larger than life to me.
Yeah, well, we were the same way, growing up with all the bands that we saw, and I was like, hey, that's what we want to do, and it's where we want to be. So it was inspiring to see all that, and all wide-eyed, and wow, that was so cool. I know. We should try that.
Are the guys in Scream still playing music?
Let me think. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, just locally, and they do things here and there.
Because that guitar player and the singer they both had really good looks. They were really cool. They were good. They had good rock. They looked rock and roll on stage. They slung their guitar like a rock and roller, and they had a good look. They were good looking guys. So they never did anything else after Screams.
Well, John, the guitar player, he lives here in Chicago, and let's see how many years. Screams, our last show, New Year's 1980, New Year's Eve, 1980. We decided that was going to be our last show. We went for like a year.
Did you guys try to get another record deal after that?
Yeah, and we had a million songs, and we had a bunch of demos, and we were really good. But I don't know. I have found in my lengthy career that, if you get off of a label, even though it wasn't really our fault, the label got dropped. But I always find that other labels tend to be like,
they're the band that failed.
They're not in the band. They're not. They didn't get. Right. They didn't want them. So I guess. Yeah. Why would we want them? So it's kind of sad that way, because a lot of times bands end up even getting better, But that kind of happened with the Elvis Brothers. Same thing. Where Portrait got dropped. It's like story of my life. It happened to me 3 times in my career. I've had 3 major record deals in my career, and all 3 labels got dropped.
So you went on to do the Elvis Brothers, which was quite a bit different than Scream. Screams are more of a hard rock I you listen back to that album. It's really kind of a power pop album. But anyway, they were kind of hard rock. Elvis Brothers were a little bit different, right?
Yeah, we were more. Well, we started off just for fun. We all after Screams broke up, and then Graham, who was in the Elvis Brothers, he was an old high school chum and early bandmate. He joined up. We had 5 people in Screams the last 6 months we were together, and he was in a part of that. So he had moved to Champaign, so Screams broke up, and then Rob, the guitar player, he had been in a band called Cold Kitchen, and they were on a band label Full Moon Epic, which was another CBS label for one album, kind of an R&B kind of thing. So all of us kind of our deals had all ended, and we'd all kind of started our own little solo projects because we all were songwriters as well. And Graham out of the blue, hey, you want to do this? Hey, let's start like a rockabilly band just for the fun of it. Just play some old rock and roll just for fun, make a couple bucks in town. And I'm like, yeah, sounds fun. That'd be cool. And, who had heard of rockabilly stuff really at that point? Even though it was, no one was doing rockabilly stuff.
Yeah.
Except, there was the Stray Cats, but hardly anybody had even heard of them at that point.
Yeah.
But I had picked up their very first album, but it was the Import, which they didn't even, I don't think, release anything.
And
they didn't release it. They didn't release anything in the States for like 2 years, but I had their Import album, the Dave Edmunds one, that was great. And we thought, wow, that's really cool. So just for fun of it, we did the rockabilly thing on the side.
In the Elvis Brothers, did you stand up playing drums?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what the Stray Cats drummer did that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Gene Vincent's drummer, and it was kind of a rockabilly thing to do.
Yeah, right, yeah. So Stray Cats got it and originated. So yeah, so you did the Elvis Brothers. Put out, how many albums did the Elvis Brothers put out?
3.
But were they all on a major label?
2 on a major label and 1 independent later on, which is my favorite album.
Okay.
My favorite Elvis Brothers album.
I don't know much. I don't know much of the Elvis Brothers except what I ran across when I was getting ready to talk to you. Yeah, more traditional band. So after the Elvis Brothers, where did you go?
Well, it's funny. It's funny too because usually more people, everybody knows the Elvis Brothers, and hardly anybody knows anything about Screams. So most people, it's like,
I've talked to so many people who actually have talked about how great that Screams album is. So I think Screams.
That's good.
I think Screams.
I mean, people know. Yeah. I mean, it is out there, but Elvis Brothers. We were on MTV, and we had records out. We were in a million magazines, and
really,
we toured. We toured all over the United States with Cheap Trick and Big Country and all the bands of the day, and until the label went under. So. And we were together from, it just took off real quick. Like I said, we just kind of formed it for the fun, but it just, day one, our first gig was like this huge success. And we were like, whoa, that was fun. That was crazy. And we had, like I said, started our own bands. And this is September of 81. And by December of us just thinking, well, we're just going to do this. We always said if we were going to be a serious band, we would have never named it the Elvis Brothers, but it was just so funny that we thought it was funny. But it took off so much within a month. Our phone was ringing off the hook and calls. In December, 3 months later, we played 28 shows.
Were you able to make a living playing drums?
Well, that's all I've ever done my entire life. So I've always worked at it, but it wasn't until Elvis Brothers that we were just making crap loads of money.
Oh, really? Huh.
We were like I said, we started in September, and by December we played 28 shows in December. We're booked, and we were like, well, here's your 200, here's your 200, and here's your 200. Great. The next night, here's your 300, here's your 300, here's your 300. Huh. Here's your 75, here's your 75, and here's your 500. We were like, holy crap, we've never made this money ever, and we were just playing these clubs and going nuts, and people loved us, and we were a good live band, and all three of us were songwriters. And anyway, we got signed. Cheap Trick's manager was interested, and he became our manager. And then we got signed like shortly after a year of being together. From just starting off goofing around, we didn't even play. It just like took off, and our personalities, our live show. And anyway, people liked us, and we have a Facebook page, and there's a Screams one too. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, I saw the Screams one. Yeah, I look.
There's
back
a
on
Screams
the
one, and there's a Elvis Brothers fan site. Check that out. There's like 1 million photos, and people. I update stuff on there and tell stories and all that stuff. But anyway, that's the Elvis Brothers story.
So then, after Elvis Brothers, where did you go?
Well, that went from 81, day one, to 96.
Oh, it's a long time.
We survived just playing clubs because we were such a good live band. We just continued and always did well. And so 96, and then I started a band called Big Hello, which was I'm not a fan of the power pop these days. The title, the tag, but at that time, it wasn't a big scene going on in the mid '90s with big power pop stuff. And I thought, I'm just going to write these songs and kind of have this power pop band image thing. And anyway, we released 3 great CDs. I think the songs are great. We did really well with those, and
did you guys
independently?
Okay, yeah.
Independently,
I'm gonna have to look for Big Hello.
Yeah, we did the Apple album. Then our second album was the Orange album, and then the third album was a combo with a bunch of outtakes and the first 2 albums, and it was called Apples and Oranges.
Okay. Nice.
So, and then by the end of that, and Chloe was in that. It was we're married.
And Chloe is the singer for the Handcuffs.
Yeah, and by the end of that was originally my band again, Big Hello, and by the end of that, Chloe and I were just together. We worked together so well, it just kind of became our thing, and we were like, yeah, let's just do our own thing and start a new thing and update a little bit, and we started the Handcuffs, and we got 3 albums out, and I'm currently working on the 4th one right now. We just started a couple weeks ago working on that. So
I also accidentally came across that you played in the Handcuffs as well, and I used to program music videos for this video network, and somehow I got on some PR company. I don't know who they were, but they sent me a video from the Handcuffs called "Can't Get the Girl Without the Good Stuff."
Oh, wow.
Baby.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I featured that video, probably like heavily featured that video. I really liked that. I liked it a lot.
Oh, thank you so much.
How did you?
Yeah, and a lot of songs were licensed off that too, for like some TV shows and some indie movie things, and yeah, they're good albums.
So you met your current wife in Big Hello. She was the singer.
Yeah, I had a couple different versions of it, and at one point I was like, I'm just going to start fresh with this whole Big Hello thing, and I need to find a singer, someone who can play guitar a bit, and we could work on my songs and things like that. And I actually had an ad in some of the local rock papers or whatever around Chicago, and I had just had a lot of dead ends. People calling, "Hey man," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think so."
Still in Illinois at
she
this
answered
time?
the ad.
Still
yeah. So this is Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So she answered she answered that. She called me, and I didn't know her, and she goes, "Hey, your ad didn't specify male or female," and I go, "It doesn't matter as long as you're good, if you got it together." And anyway, we talked, and we totally hit it off just on the phone, because I'm into like having a look, and we'll have the band having the whole package and what we're into. She totally was in on it. I was like, wow, finally someone that sounds like they get it, And I auditioned and her, and it was great, and we just got along, and we got along great, and we just had the same views, band-wise stuff. So that's how that started.
And next thing you know, you're dating the girl in your band?
Not for a long. I was married at the time.
Huh. Okay.
And once again, we both always say it had nothing to do with it had nothing to do with us, which it didn't at all. The breakup of that, but so even after I got divorced, we still didn't date or anything, but we were like best friends. And
right, you were partners in crime. You were musical partners in crime.
Yeah, and we did every day. We talked every day. We had ideas, and
so you guys both were the main songwriters.
Yeah, Handcuffs is basically us.
You play another instrument besides. You must play another instrument besides drums if you wrote songs, because I would imagine you can't write melodic songs.
Well, actually, I don't. I mean, obviously, I've been writing songs a long time, going back to the.
How do you write a song if you're only a drummer? Do you just hum along? You just hum the parts? Or?
I do. I haven't. I've always wondered. I've always written songs, even before I had bands. I can come up. I can remember songs I wrote that are in my head that I wrote before I even played in bands. I can still remember the songs. And I was like, oh man, I got this song in my head.
So without playing an instrument, you couldn't really demo the song. Without playing an instrument besides the drums, you couldn't really demo the songs. You would all right, I got this song, guys. I did.
I would demo them to myself on my cassette players. I'd have a couple cassette players, and I would either put a drum beat down with my drums, or I'd beat on some boxes or something, and I would do like the guitar line
on the
with
vocals?
my mouth, with my vocal, do a guitar line with my voice, and then I would play that and record that, and then over top of that I would sing what the melody was, and that would get me so I wouldn't forget the parts. And sometimes I would add. So in my head I would hear the bass and the guitar and the drum, and the vocal, how the vocal went, and arrangement and all that stuff. So
you would
always got by.
You would make a demo and with the drums and then guitar go do 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 do, and you would record that multi-track, and you'd bring that to the band and say, "All right, here's the song I made up."
Yeah, well, I generally wouldn't play that for them, but that was basically I would have it
right, just so you could
I could listen to the I was like, oh yeah, that was that part I had on there, and then I would explain it to him. Like, oh, I got this song, and it's kind of like this, and it's kind of like this. And the guitar line, it starts this way, no, it's more like an octave, and I would sing it to him, an octave thing. Like, yeah, that's it. Okay, that. And so then the drum beat, and then now play that. And they would play. Okay, now the bass, that bass goes like this. So I would explain it, and it would all come together, and then we do that. Okay, now here's how the vocals go on top of it.
Kind of weird. It's kind of unusual for the drummer to be doing the main songwriting in a band, isn't it?
Yeah, me and Phil Collins. That's it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, Ringo. Yeah. No, I don't know.
So it shows what I know.
No, yeah, I guess the drummers get categorized,
Yeah.
But
did you do a lot of the songwriting in Screams too?
Yeah.
You would do the same. Same thing to the guys.
I wrote Pop Art and Pen Pal.
Pop Art's my favorite song on that album.
Oh, thank you. Angeline's Toys was mainly mine.
Angeline's Toys sounds like Angeline's Toys sounds like Angeline's Toys sounds like a Cheap Trick song. That sounds like a 12-string bass in it. Is it a 12-string bass in Angeline's Toys?
No, it's just John, the guitar player, playing octaves and
doesn't that one have a bass opening? The bass starts a song other than the drums. It starts off with the drums.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he played a Thunderbird with rotossound strings on it, a real grindy, and a pick. and they played really hard. And yeah, it starts with drums and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a great album.
Oh, this is kind of funny. If you're up on your Van Halen, so we used to open with that song.
Angeline's
a lot of
Toys.
time.
Yeah.
On the Van Halen tour.
Yeah, good opener because it's got the pounding drum beat. It gets the audience going. It gets
Yeah,
them clapping.
and also it's like the Cheap Trick Hello There thing where it's like their sound check too back in the day. So
you
guitar
get
comes
levels.
in,
Good song to
then
get
the vocal
levels.
comes in,
right?
Then the bass comes, so you can do a good sound check that way. So it starts with drums. And then the big then the bass come in, then the guitar, then the guitar came in, and then the vocals. Yeah. So it was a good sound check song for us.
Good levels.
The first song. So the guy could dial it in. And so anyway, the Van Halen guys, they would be out there watching us play and all this. And then, so fast forward to the Women and Children first album. And the song "Everybody Wants Some."
Yep, you're right. Yep. Yep.
What am I saying? What do you think I'm saying? I'm getting to.
It's a little bit similar.
Yeah,
you're right.
And then they go. The bass comes in, real grindy bass, and then
I hear that from a lot of guys actually. That other bands have done that. But what?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? No, it's great, but I'm pretty positive. They were like, man, that screams. They had that one song. I just write a song like that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure
it happens all the
intro.
time.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, that's that story. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
So you decide to form a band with the girl who's not your girlfriend, but she's your musical soulmate in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, we were best friends and everything, but it took a while, and we kind of avoided it because it's so weird, your best friend, it's almost like. Was she
a guitar player in Big Hello as well?
Yeah, she's not a shredder. She plays a rhythm guitar.
But she played guitar in that band as well. She didn't just come and just sing, hold a microphone.
No, she sang and would play guitar on occasion, and she's super talented. I mean, originally she was a jazz person, I guess, before I met her, and she's really good at saxophone, and she still is. She's a really good saxophone player, woodwinds. She can play, so she knows her musical stuff, and she can read and stuff, so she could play keyboards a bit and piano stuff a bit. So anyway, between all of it, and I can noodle around on things, and so between her and I, we get a lot done in the studio. If we need it, she can play bass on stuff, and yeah, she's very talented.
So after you got divorced, do you finally decide, we're kind of like musical soulmates, maybe we should go ahead and be girlfriend and boyfriend?
It took a while. It still took a while, it's just too, you don't want to jump from one thing to another because it's too easy.
And whose idea was it to be boyfriend and girlfriend? Hers or yours, or just came? I guess
I don't know. I don't know. We were probably just talking at some point, and it was like, "Hey, just want to go out?"
Right.
And have a drink or something. Right. I don't know. I guess. Yeah. Okay. Is that like a date? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of awkward. So. It's.
How old are you?
Let's just go to sleep together, whatever.
How old are you now?
I'm 95.
Yeah, you look okay for 95.
No. Hey, thanks. Thanks, man.
So I'm guessing you're a little bit older than her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still in high school.
How many albums do the Handcuffs have?
We have 3 excellent albums, and we're working on our 4th, which is going to be ultra excellent. It's going to be really good.
All in independent labels?
Yeah, it's all on, hey, can you swear on this show of yours?
Yeah, it's just a dumb podcast. You can.
Well, gosh darn it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but dag nabbit. We, what is it? We have our own label let's see, what is it?
You don't know what your label's called?
Oh, I had to think.
Oh.
Yes. I went blank for a second. We have our own kind of like label.
Right.
We're basically, it's just us.
Yeah,
And we
you
do
put
indie
artists,
and
yeah.
indie stuff. And
Now that's the
and,
way to do it anyway.
we hire a publicist and all that when we have
Right.
records out. And it's not any different than having an indie deal, quite frankly. In fact, we would love to be on an indie deal, but we can't find one that does any more than what we do.
Exactly. At this point, it's easier just to do it yourself.
And we have control of everything. So it's like, why are we letting them do it when we could be doing it ourselves?
So are you
So,
are you still able to make a? Do the handcuffs pay the bills?
not really. We make a little money though from licensing and publishing and that sort of thing. But I remembered what our label is OOFL on OOFL Records, OOFL.
Oh, okay.
Our own fucking label. That's what the name
Oh,
of it.
nice.
That's what
Very good. Oh,
that's
there
what
you go.
OOFL stands
Nice. I like that.
for. That's
I
what
like
it stands for. So OOFL. It's just OOFL, I tell you.
Yeah. So handcuffs don't really pay the bills. So you have to do other things to make money besides the handcuffs, right?
Well, I play in the Romantics.
You're the Romantics drum. The Romantics do summer tours every year.
Yeah, we play mainly spring up into fall. We play a lot, like always a million shows and tours and everywhere.
Yeah, I think
And
when the Romantics open.
and then there's like sporadic ones after. There's still one-offs here and there, like our next one's sometime. We're off right now for like a month or two, but then we have one or two shows in November, one or two maybe in December, got a couple in January, and then it starts picking up again, okay.
Romantics were great with Rick Springfield. It was a fun show. I liked it a lot.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think we have we've played with him like a million times,
Yeah.
and I think we have, I just heard today a road manager called and booking flights or whatever for me, and I said, we got a Miami show or something with Rick Springfield. I said, okay. So sometime coming up. So
You like Rick Springfield's music?
yeah, it's all right. It's okay.
Okay.
You know, I don't go out and buy records and stuff, but he's good. I'm friends with all the band members and things. Yeah.
No, I like Rick Springfield. I think Rick Springfield's kind of underrated songwriter.
Yeah, well, he is. Yeah, he's got a million songs. You go, as you well know, you go see him play live, and you go, oh, I forgot about this one. Oh, then there's this one. Oh, because we get people going, hey, you want to come on? I'll go, hey, you want to come out to a show? And I go, yeah, okay. I mean, how's Rick Springfield? And he's got that one song, right, Jesse's Girl?
The thing about going to a Rick Springfield concert, if you're
Then I'll say something on another song, and I'll go, oh, yeah, there's that one. Anyway, they come out and they go, holy crap, I forgot how many songs he had, that I remembered. So
the thing about going to a Rick Springfield show, if you're a guy, you never have a problem getting into the bathroom. There's never a line for the men's bathroom.
Right. That's why I always go in the girls' bathroom.
Well, you're waiting in line in the girls' bathroom. There's a line down the street.
Well, that's the best place to be, in line with a bunch of girls.
Exactly.
Except they never want to talk to you because they have to go to the bathroom.
They're
really
waiting
bad.
to see Rick Springfield.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
So so how far into the new album are you, or the new Handcuffs album, are you into recording it?
Well, we just now started laying down tracks and doing some overdubbing. We're going to record more songs than we need, but we have about 5 or 6 tracks already. Started dubbing a little bit, guitar, bass, some keyboards, and then we got about 8 other songs I'd like to track. So I hope to get those done. We're going in like once or twice a week, and we've only been in like 2 or 3 days so far, and we've got 5 at least drum tracks down and guitar, bass, keyboards, and stuff put down. We got a long ways to go.
And band
but anyway, I want to get everything tracked. I want to get all the drum tracks done. We're going in again. We're doing Mondays, so the next 2 Mondays I hope to get all the other tracks down and some other stuff going, and then we can just move from there. We just go in and start dubbing stuff, you know.
And band rehearsal tonight was the Handcuffs?
Yeah, it was for it wasn't even for our band original thing. It was for, we got asked to do, you know, when bands do all these Halloween sets,
Right.
as they play somebody else's music, whatever, and we got asked to participate. Our keyboard player and guitar player, they once in a great while, a couple times a year, play in this other band, and they just do fun cover stuff and R&B. Like one set, they'll do somebody, you know. But anyway, they were doing this Halloween thing they were going to do the Rolling Stones this year. So there's a lot of horn parts and a lot of the Rolling Stone stuff, the later stuff, later stuff. You know, Bobby Keys,
Right.
saxophone, all that stuff. And so Chloe's playing sax with that, and they have great other two guys, a trombone and a trumpet guy. That sounds great. Sounds really cool. And they're doing that, and also we got asked, hey, would Handcuffs want to do something on that? So we decided to do George Harrison. So we're doing like 4 or 5 George Harrison songs. So we're doing the only rehearsal that we have. We did one other one, but we did one tonight, and that's it. So I think we'll be okay, though.
What are the George Harrison songs?
We're doing Got My Mind Set on You, For You Blue.
Got My Mind Set on You, a Traveling Wilburys tune, right?
You know, we thought For You Blue is off of Let It Be.
Okay.
Off the Let It Be album.
So Traveling Wilburys and a song from Let It Be, and
Got My Mind Set on You is just George Harrison solo.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. Okay. Well, there you go. Jeff Lynne produced it. Sorry. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's the same ballpark there. Yeah, that one. It's actually a cover song, as you know.
I did not know. I'm not that knowledgeable in George Harrison. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually a cover song, and it's from early '60s, like '61 or '2 or somewhere in there. Yeah, look it up. It's a cool song. Got My Mind Set on You. I forget who covered it exactly, but you'll find it. And For You Blue off of Let It Be, and then Bangladesh.
Okay.
You know that song?
That's on All Things Must Pass. Or is it on the concert for Bangladesh? It's on the concert for Bangladesh.
Yeah, it was Concert for Bangladesh. Yeah. It was basically just a single. It did pretty well. It's a cool song, though. So we're doing that, and then at the end of that, we're going into this weird instrumental thing that I always liked called Skiing, and it's off his very first solo album called Wonderwall. It's this weird thing. Once again, I'm going into obscure land.
Yeah, you're super geeking on George Harrison, not doing the hits.
I'm that way with everything. I collect records and things, so I'm always, like I said, I've never been like top 40 guy. We should do this song, and then most people are like, what the hell? I don't know this song. And then other people, oh my God, I can't believe you're playing that song. You guys are so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're doing Skiing, and then we're doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Okay.
And I think that's it. It's like 20 minutes or something.
All right, that's good. So you don't have to rehearse for the studio. You just pretty much, you don't have rehearsals like, okay, we're going into track on Monday. We're going to rehearse for what we're going to do on Monday.
No, we don't do that. Because we've been playing a lot of these songs out live, and then some of them we worked on, but they've never played out live. And we're good. We'll get it together.
You know what you're gonna call the new album?
Yeah, I think, but I don't want to blurt it out yet. So
okay, all right.
In case it changes.
Right. All right. Well, Brad Elvis, this has been very enlightening for me, and I'm glad you came on, and I want to tell you again that Screams album is a classic in my book.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's you know, that's my payback. You know, when people come up to me in those any band, the Elvis Brothers, like I'm out with Romantics, and someone once in a while someone will bring some Elvis Brothers albums for me to sign, or a Screams album. I was like, this is so cool. It's because you put so much effort into every band that you have, and to have the rug pulled out from underneath you, like I've had like 3 different times. It's like, it could have been something. The band was so good, and we were doing so well, and all of a sudden it's like, the car died.
But to still be playing rock and roll and to be making a living at it. There's an old saying. Somebody else said, "You won. You're playing rock and roll for a living." So it's a success.
Yeah, I've accomplished my goal in life, I guess. But I've always done that. So it's cool to have the people. Hey man, I got the Screams album. I love it. I was like, oh man, thanks so much. I saw you guys, or I saw the Elvis Brothers. It's so great to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would like to get a re-released, one of these weird little labels. And I have a million. I was always, since it was my band and stuff, I was always the one that was like always wanting to record this live, and so I was always recording this live and getting board tapes and all this stuff.
Just like Bunny.
I have some. Yeah, pretty much. And I used to originally just record my bands all the time because I would take them home and I'd critique myself or the band. Like, that part, we're speeding up on that part, or I'm speeding up on that part, or whatever. So there's some really good live, some great live Scream shows. And there was one in particular, it turned out really great. And it sounds really good on the Van Halen tour. I'd almost like to put that out. You have that released album-wise.
I would like to hear that.
So,
you can see there's a lot of live videos from a Milwaukee show. I don't know if that was on the Van Halen tour, but that's all I could find.
It was
looking for Screams.
Yeah, I have some stuff on video. I have some early demo. When we were making our demos, they recorded us lip syncing to our tracks in the studio.
Right. Huh.
It's kind of fun,
yeah.
black and white stuff, and it's the demo versions of I think Angeline's Toys and Pop Art, and I forget what else. And then there's a live club thing. It's pretty cool. It's kind of cool. There's not a lot, obviously, because it wasn't a big thing back then. There wasn't a lot of video. It was like a big deal to have it be videoed back then. Hey, I know a guy that's got a video camera.
Yeah.
Now everybody has them on their phones and everything else. So.
For the longest time, I saw this band Nazareth play a long time ago. Back when Nazareth, I don't know if you're Nazareth. Anyway, they had at one point a guy in their band named Billy Rankin, and for the longest time I said, man, Billy Rankin, that guy looks exactly like the guitar player in Screams. And for the longest time I thought Billy Rankin was in Screams, but I turned out I was wrong. But
yeah,
useless information, but just throwing it out there.
Yeah. John and I, you can't really tell from that album cover, but
I can't tell which one's you on that album cover.
Yeah, John and I, we used to get mistaken for being like brothers all the time. Everybody thought we were each other because we kind of looked alike. But on the album, I'm the one with the bowl, Brian Jones 60s haircut kind of, and he's the one with the longer hair.
Then you're the guy in the top middle.
Yeah, kind of something middle with the bangs and round Keith Moon looking bass kind of deal. Yeah.
Favorite drummer in the world is who?
Mine?
Yeah, the main drumming influence.
If you narrow it down, I'd have to say Keith Moon, but I have a lot of things. I'm even inspired and influenced by guitar players and comedians, whatever.
Yeah, looking at you play live, I would imagine Keith Moon as well. One thing I didn't tell I did not tell people, the showmanship behind the drums was the thing that really got me. I mean, other than the fact that you were a monster drummer, the stuff you're doing while you're playing the drums, the showmanship is really something to watch, as you know.
Yeah, well, thank you, and yeah, it's probably fairly obvious. I just was always
You like to be
funny,
the
and a goofball, and
it's a focal
as
point
a
of the
little kid, I
band.
was hyper and everything.
The
So, and
romantic.
then I discovered I saw Keith Moon, and I was like, that I related to it so much, I was like that exactly what. So I studied it and eventually turned into myself. But yeah, there's a lot of that. So
The romantics guys like you doing all that stuff on stage.
yeah, they love it.
Good, yeah. It's really a lot of
I've
fun to
asked them
watch.
about it. I asked them about it years ago. I said, "You don't mind?" They, no, 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 no. It's great, dude. Keep doing it. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
because anyway,
What about?
Jimmy Marino's was
Oh,
kind of like a focal point of the romantics too. So the drummer was kind of like out front back
yeah,
then.
they've always had good drummers. Jimmy was good. Clem was good. And I got the gig from Clem,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, he recommended.
and
So he couldn't do it anymore, and then he said, "I got this guy named Brad Elvis or Brad Stakely."
by then I was always Brad Elvis.
Yeah.
I mean, once the Elvis brothers, and we were goofing around, and I'm Brad Elvis, I'm Graham Elvis, I'm Rob Elvis, and it just started early on, and then it just got to the point where everybody just called us that. And at one point, toward the end, I was like getting fed up with it. I was going back to my name, Brad Stakely, and people wouldn't have anything. They wouldn't let me do that.
Are you
they
friends?
kept
Are you?
they kept going. No, man, you're Brad Elvis.
Yeah.
You earned that name, man. That's a cool name.
There
Everybody
you
knows
go.
you that. I'm like,
Are
okay.
the Elvis brothers the rest of the Elvis brothers? Are they still known as Elvis as their last name too?
Graham does the Graham Elvis thing, and he paints. He does art. He's a painter
Under
guy, and he does demos and things.
under the name under the name Graham Elvis.
And then Rob, he doesn't. He just has his own last real name. He doesn't do the Rob Elvis thing, even though everybody calls him that. It's like a curse,
Right. Yeah. That's
It's hard. It's like you can't get away from it. We did it for so long, everybody knew us as that.
right.
It's
Yeah.
he uses his real name, but no one calls him that. Whenever I've been around the people, hey, Rob Elvis, say, how's Rob Elvis doing? It's
And
like,
you're still friends with
but,
those guys. You're still in close contact with those guys.
oh yeah, all of them, and the Screams guys, and
Oh, you are? Okay, good. And
yeah, I just saw them.
everybody in Screams
saw
is
him a
still
couple weeks
alive,
ago.
right?
Yeah, I just saw them. About a month ago. Two of them, and John, he couldn't make it, but this guy's doing this documentary on the Champaign, Illinois,
Hmm.
and
Music
more,
scene.
and even it turned into even more than that. He's interviewed like 1 million rock people at this point, but it was kind of focusing on the Champaign thing and entire Champaign, Illinois, because so many bands came out of there and stuff. But anyway, we were part of this. He filmed this live interview with some people here a while back, and it was kind of the first time that David and the bass player Steve and I had been together, just the three of us. I wish John could have been there. We were just kind of, hey, look, there's Screams, They sure look different, but it was fun. Yeah, we get along pretty much the same way. It's interesting. We're all grown up and different now, but wiser, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that's all I've ever done, though. I've continued. I've never stopped. I've always been in bands and continued and toured and made records, and they didn't. So it's kind of interesting.
I wonder if the music business, because some people, the music business, you get disenchanted pretty easily when you go through the business side of it. It can make some people get turned off to playing rock and roll anymore.
Yeah, sometimes it gets like, man, I just want to play. This is stupid, Yeah, it gets kind of dumb.
It can make some people not
sometimes.
want to play anymore.
Yeah, definitely. We've, even Chloe and I, we've ran across that. We had a manager in the Handcuffs for a short while, and it just got to the point where it just wasn't fun. It was just like draining.
Right. Yeah.
Just because it wasn't supposed to be, it just turned to be more abrasive and weird, and we didn't want to do this and that. It's like, man.
And when you get to be a certain age,
So we got rid of that. So
you get to be a certain age, and if playing music is in your blood, you get to be a certain age, and you say, I don't care. I just want to play. I just want to have fun and play with people that I like, and not have to deal with any bull crap.
Well, that's the Handcuffs. That's our motto, and we love our band, and everybody plays great, and we're happy with every single person in our band, and we just, and it shows on stage. We just, we'll just go out there, as all my bands have always done. We go out there and let's do this, let's kick ass, So that's where I come from and why I'm still playing, I guess,
Well, Brad Elvis, thank you so much for doing this. A great drummer, one of the great drummers who you maybe have never heard of, but
I'm famous, but nobody knows it.
Exactly. One of the greatest drummer, possibly the greatest drummer in the world, I think, maybe.
In the world.
All right. Well, Brad,
no pressure.
Thank you for coming on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and let's do it again sometime. We'll do part 2.
Okay.
Or part 3 at this
I would
point.
I would actually like to do a track by track breakdown of the Screams album one of these days. I do this thing on this lame podcast called Classic Albums Revisited, and Screams album would be a perfect album for that.
Well, I have all the backstories, so.
Well, if you're into doing that, I would definitely I'll bug you.
Oh, of course.
In the near future.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be great. I'd tell you what inspired the songs and all that stuff. So.
When's the next Romantics gig?
I think it's the day after Thanksgiving. We're in. I know we fly into Oklahoma City, but I'm not super sure where we're playing. It's close by there somewhere. I think it's like a casino gig, a live big. By a theater, casino gig or something.
Hopefully the Romantics are going to come back out to the Bay Area, and if they do,
we just played out there a couple times in the last year here.
Oh, where'd you play last time?
We just played in the San Jose around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an hour south.
Yeah, it's one of the last gigs we played. We played this big '80s giant lineup with a million bands. Some big hall there, arena or something.
Well, one time when you come back to the Bay Area, you might see this guy come in. Hey, Brad Elvis, I had you on this podcast of mine, and that'll be me.
Well, if you hear of us playing around there and vice versa, let me know, and we'll hook up and say hi and all that stuff.
I will definitely come say hello. Brad Elvis, thank you so much for doing this. If you don't know Brad Elvis, look him up. And if you do look him up, tell him you heard him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show so he doesn't think he wasted an hour and 14 minutes of his life on this lame podcast.
No, it's fun. I enjoyed it. I like reminiscing and chatting.
Yeah, one of my favorite drummers now in the world is Brad Elvis. So thank you so much, Brad Elvis, for coming on. I really
thank you so much, and we'll talk again.
All right, thanks a lot. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye. There you go, Brad Elvis. Great drummer, really, really great drummer, friends. I don't really have a lot of drummers on the Rock and Roll Geek Show, but this guy is really something to watch. And so I'm going to close out the show now with a Scream song that he said he wrote, and it's probably my favorite song on this album. It's if not my favorite song on this Screams album, it's in the top 2. This is Pop Art. Thank you so much for listening, friends. You can find me at rockandrollgeek.com, as you know, and you can email me, rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. If you like this interview, send me an email with the subject line, Butler. That was a fantastic interview. I am now a huge Brad Elvis fan, and I'm going to go look up the Handcuffs and Screams and Elvis Brothers and Big Hello and everything else that Brad Elvis has ever done. Put that in the subject line, rockandrollgeek@gmail.com. And if you didn't like this interview, just fast forward. Don't send me an email. All right. Here's Pop Art. Find me on the Facebook, or you know how to find me. All right, here's Pop Art from Screams. I will talk to you very soon, friends.
it's not. You know it will be now. And the kids, they just won't dance. And I don't mind at all. Really, I don't. So I'm thinking like a Warhol. The timing's just, it's just not right. And sometimes I never say goodnight. I have no complaints, 'cause Mark Bolan had it down and now it's all too late. So take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for all. Oh, take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for all. Oh, take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for all. Take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for all. Take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for all. Oh, take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away, man. Sympathy for Take this, take that. You're gonna lose it all. Don't you go away.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.